Welcome to Warblog. This is the third time I've tried this video now. I've got a couple of things wrong, so I'll start again. Playing this game, Advance on Sukayk. It's a fantastic game. Got a few links, but I wasn't really able to sort of really follow them through and read them all and get this all perfect. The geography is a bit off and the unit sort of orientation is off, but I actually quite like it because it's got such a sort of clear sort of direction from this little corner here, pushing through these places. This is Sukayk, Al Tamara and Khan Shaykhun over here. But the one thing that's interesting from the point of view of what actually happened was, you might sort of think, well, we just drive up here and then come down here. But that's sort of really not what happened. There's a bigger picture on this, in the sense that they're coming from the east, from the west as well. But what happens is there's a front line here. Okay. There's a front line here, but they push this sort of like that, taking that, and they also push from this side, and then they eventually take Khan Shaykhun like that, and then they create this sort of join here. Now that does two things. Firstly, there's all these units that are in here, and there's a pocket in here, and that's a sort of separate scenario because they've got a full surround now. So this is a pincher movement, and they basically cut all this off. So, but the thing is, there's a ceasefire then. The ceasefire line sort of, gives the Syrian advance sort of something like this, which meant that there was a very clear area. And then after the ceasefire, well, not sort of after it as though it finished, when the ceasefire was broken, the Syrian army sort of pushed into this place, Al Tamia, which is, quite a different scenario to all the operations. This was all sort of one fairly smooth operation, but the thing is, when you sort of look at it, you sort of think, well, okay, well, we'll come up this road through Al Tamia and down here. Now they obviously broke off from this road and went cross country or via smaller roads. I don't think it's really necessarily all cross country. We just don't have major roads here, so it wasn't as though they had to go over any sort of impassable mountains or anything. But this would have been the easier way, but obviously there's this town heavily defended, presumably, in the way. So it's interesting to sort of consider what happened there. Essentially what you've got, obviously, the Syrians, you're fighting a lot of irregulars, so you've got that sort of, as long as you keep high stacks, and we've got 6 there, 7 there, 7 there, as long as you keep the high stacks, you should actually be able to prevent major attacks. So I'm just going to put that there. Now the thing is, you're going to have to spend a lot of time thinking about everything here. In particular, I think the strategy is going to revolve around strategic placement of artillery and rockets. So we've got Syrian rockets there, Syrian artillery there, and plenty of indirect fire with this air force. And then I think, well, what are you up against that's actually going to hurt? And in this case, it's clear it's going to be the rockets. Well, the insurgents are more of a pain, and the anti-tank. So, I think that it's not necessarily a case of, well, we'll take this unit out first. I mean, that's almost irrelevant. Holding this might be better if we can get some artillery onto these things. Now, they only got a range of 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So in theory, any artillery, these rockets are not going to hurt anyone, so they're irrelevant. It's not worth taking that unless we wanted to sort of just strike them with everything. So I think, so what I'm saying is, what we're going to try and take out first, because quite often I play these and the artillery and the rockets, they sort of sit there just being irritating. So we've got some anti-tank and some rockets over there, but they're in hills. Most of these other things are not, but they're not stacked up. So what we've got in there, we've got 2 lots of anti-tank. I mean, it's such a nice target that it might actually be worth going for indirectly. But what I want to do is to sort of take out their rockets. But the anti-tank are going to be fairly painful in their own right. But I'm not actually going to really play too much of it, so it's maybe not that important for me to make that sort of decision now. But so we've got anti-tank there, rockets there, anti-tank and rockets. That might be a good target. They're all insurgents. A lot of anti-tank. Oh, 2 rockets right there. In the open, but dug in. Right, so that's sort of what I want to go for. And how to do it. Well, let's move this arm up a little bit. So as I sort of intonated, we might not necessarily want to start moving forward at all, really. But I want to move this artillery there. I should still have some movement. 1.2, so obviously we can't move, well, can't actually really move again anyway, but we can fire 1, 2, 3, 4. We might be in range of that. Let's see what we've got. Okay, I really want to sort of actually try and damage these rocket batteries. And that's not the way to do it, is it, really? 0.9 on one of them. Oh, 2.7, so that's good. Takes me up to 3.6. The reason I'm doing this is because when I play these games, usually what happens is I spend the whole game being slowly whittled down by their indirect area fire, or their indirect fire. And I think if I concentrate, I might be able to, you know, swing the game earlier in the favour of one player or another. 6.7, because you know, I played you know, some of these scenarios before, and you find that, you know, the Syrians are losing because they haven't taken out the artillery. And so I'm going to sort of think about focusing on that first, and then saying, well, after that we can then start doing ground movements. But we spent everything this turn on this stack, and I think it's worth it because I really want to actually take them out of the picture. And one more attack. What's he on? 9.6. He should die. Yeah. So there we go. I spent everything, but we got rid of them. So that is like the equivalent of, you know, nuked. There's probably, you know, not an orchard standing in there, and plumes of dust billowing into the air, and the BBC taking pictures of schools and dead children. But we've achieved the goal of taking out this rocket power. But look, there's loads left. There's one there, one there, one there, one there. That's 4. One there, 5, 6, 7. That's just in the immediate. We've taken out 2. Now that one might be in something that can be taken out anyway by ground forces. And if I can, I'm going to do it. So they're 10% on that. I need to take care to at least have something in there. I do not want to be losing. Artillery units or rocket units. Oh, that's stupid. Okay, we pushed them back, and that was nice because we pushed them back into there. But we don't really have much movement. We need to push this unit out. I don't know what he's doing there. He's not even entrenched. DE. Okay, that stacks that up nicely. We do have more rockets left. And this is what I said earlier was we've got there now 2.74. Okay, let's go for it. That wasn't very good. What I was sort of saying earlier in the earlier video, I think, and I don't think I've said it yet, is that this is a difficult situation because you've got to sort of start looking at everything. You know, I mean, we've put a lot of focus on dealing with the strategic indirect fire position situation. But I think the point I made earlier was there's so many sort of aspects of it to consider. So there's the stacking up to keep things up, you know, to prevent the sort of the counter-attack possibility, because they can't really counter-attack. The only thing they can do is damage with rockets and things, which will probably be fairly effective. So really need to take them out, and they really need to do the same, vice versa. But actually just sitting there and figuring out what there is can take quite a bit of time. I don't think I've really done that, and you know, but I think if you were to play this properly, you'd really have to sort of sit down and actually think about what you can deploy as battle groups. You know, how much hardware you've got, where it needs to be, and how much hardware they've got, and where it is, and where you need to strike. You know, as opposed to just driving forward. That's why I haven't done anything here in the first instance, because I'm trying to do whatever I can against these, you know, these sorts of units. Now, I don't know why that was so difficult. Are they in hills? No, they're not even in hills. I mean, you know, that was a 1 to 2. But I think, really got to sort of, try and figure out where all these things are, which can take a bit of time. So I haven't actually done that yet. That's why I focused on the rockets. But I mean, and what are we going to do here? I mean, what is this position going to end up looking like? Red's the only colour I like drawing with. Red and sometimes white. See, that sort of front line is a situation in the game in its own right. So you could sort of say, well, okay, we've got section A, whatever you want to call it, as a sort of a field of a situation to resolve. And then you might sort of say, well, what else is there? And we've done that little section. And I think you could maybe define, I mean, by default, this next section here, but I would actually go a bit smaller and put it into 2 sections. One like that, and one like that. So basically what we're saying is we've got to take out these 2 hexes, these 2 hexes, these 3 hexes, and we've already done, we've already made movement on this because this would have had something in there, I believe. So you've got to start thinking like that. That's what I'm sort of saying. I mean, sort of think, well, what is going on over here, for example, as reinforcements, and then you've also got obviously absolutely everything else. So you've got all of this as a sort of a strategic consideration, an aspect of the overall situation that needs to be addressed. So you can see you've got all that, and then obviously you've got all this sort of other stuff. That doesn't really represent much, but is noise. So I mean, what I'm going to do is have a look at this, 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 and this. And what have we actually got left? We've got some rockets. There's a road. Where's the road? So there's not a real road here, so we really want to sort of push them onto the road at least, and see if we can fire at something. These have actually got a lot of movement. See, what I'm trying to figure out is how many units have we actually got here that can do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. I mean, we can't really count these. They've not got any movement really. 1, 1, and 1. So we've got 8 units in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we've got 12. So 4 up there. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 here, 4 here. We've got a lot of units here. So I think, we can't be too complacent. I mean, this is what we've got left. So when it comes down to sort of doing a ground strike, do we really want to be doing anything? Now I think we can use this rocket power on this, but we're probably going to win here anyway, no matter what. But let's just use it. 0.2. 0.4. Okay, so they're still formidable. So that's the difficulty. So much so that I'm a bit reluctant to. I mean, I could go against that. It's 3-1 and a DR. Leave that. So here, do we really want to sort of try again on that unit? I mean, he's down to 0.6. So you only really want to be hitting things that are rockets. Because I don't want to move them out there. I don't want to have him coming through here and taking these units out. So, well, I was going to do an attack on that, but on its own, it's probably quite tough. They're untouched, but we now got 3 units against them. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to do anything. I've got my stacks. I'm focusing on my artillery and indirect fire, and hopefully that strategy will play out. So, the Hayat Tahrir Sham units, what do they want to do? Well, they probably want to distance themselves from indirect fire, but at the same time attacking strongly. And that always comes down to one thing really. Where's the biggest stack? There's a stack of 3 there. I'm not going to be moving all of this. In fact, what I'm going to do is what I can do down here. But similarly, I mean, I think the thing with the Hayat Tahrir Sham units is you've got to consider what their strategy is going to be, and it's not going to be offensive. But, you know, looking at this, what have we got? Well, we've got this sort of, we've almost got a line of hills across there with 1 pass, 2 pass, with 3 passes through it. You know, if you squint your eyes and look at it accordingly. And we've got, you know, a blocked road there. So the thing is, how can they best offer a defence? Now, one thing I do want to do is to try and split everything up. 1, 2, 3, so I can hit this stack from there. Now we lost a position there. Let's see if we can bring these rockets nearer. See, I'm going to keep those separate so they're not together, so they're not going to be. Now, I didn't finish that sentence, I know, but well, so that they're not going to be targeted with a single airstrike. But what was going to go on, and what I jumped into saying was, basically, I wonder how much that it actually plays into how, you know, these insurgents are actually doing things. I imagine that, you know, being dispersed is actually central because of the air power. They're probably doing so many other things. I mean, I can remember when the Israelis went into Gaza, pictures of all these sorts of sheets lining, you know, roads between buildings. And to be quite honest, I can't remember exactly what the scales were, but they were massive. They were like tarpaulins. And the reason they're doing that is because snipers are obviously firing down roadways, and by simply doing something like that, you can stop them. So all I'm saying is there's lots of things that are affecting strategy and actions that are symbolic of the current play. I mean, well, to be quite honest, putting these sheets up might have been something that they would have done in Leningrad. I think it's Leningrad, the huge siege in the Second World War. I mean, there's a lot of sniper fire there. I mean, very sort of drawn out urban warfare. And there's obviously that place in Chechnya, and probably a hell of a lot of other urban battles that have gone on. I mean, not outside of the Syrian and Iraqi wars. But what I get into is, we're trying to sort of move all these units so they're not stacked up. I mean, that's a big stack, but there's only one lot of rockets in there that I want to protect. But what I think is that we might move him forward, or might drop back. Now, I'm not going to move him, but we've got a spare irregular that we can move. See, I don't want to leave that stacked up, that's the thing. So this is what I was trying to get at earlier. It takes so much thinking about sort of, I mean, I'm not even going to bother with these squares again. What I'm sort of thinking, well, we're going to fall back as the black player. I can never remember how to say that. Tayet Ahisham, Hayat Tayet Ahisham, the black player. But what I'm saying is, I'm thinking, well, shall I try and form a line like that with all the indirect rockets and anti-tank units more, set back and firing over it? So do I want to try and set that as a defensive line, or not particularly different, but it's sort of the only other option? Do I want to fall back slightly so that my defensive line is more there or there, and then obviously with my artillery back behind there? So do I want to give this ground up, or do I want to push forward with that line? Because they're not having the easiest time of it, the Syrians, but we just can't attack them. And I think the key thing is to really sort of consider where we can put a rocket. So we've got, I mean, obviously we've got 3 there. Well, that's not brilliant because this guy's not necessarily in range, but they can all hit. 1, 2, 3, 4. They can all hit this unit, and that's what I want to be going for. But the thing is, we've got to move first. Now that unit there is not in a good position. But we've also got some rockets here, here. We've also got them over here. So you're sort of thinking, well, where are we going to put these rocket positions that they're dispersed, but also in range? And we've lost 2 because the Syrian player has targeted them. I mean, you've got to remember, we had 2 there, and it would have been very tempted to have done other things with those resources. But what I'm actually going to do, I'm not going to find all the others. I want to preserve this rocket unit, and there are 2 of them in there. I'm going to push them there. I'm going to push him there into the smoking ruins there. And that's the only real change in deployment I'm going to make. What I am also going to do is try and bolster this gap Now that's anti-tank. I don't like doing it, but I'm going to do that. I want to recover with him. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to see what I can get on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. We should be able to get a lot. This will be entertaining because that is like a lot of hardware, and that is the problem with the Syrian army. If they want to stop the insurgents attacking them, they've got to stack up at least double, and this is treble, which makes them vulnerable to indirect fire. So they can't really play the same strategy as ISIS, as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and play dispersively. This is why we've got to focus on getting rid of all the rockets early on, because they're, there's 2 units missing from this battery. Look at that, 3. What are they on? 3.5, 5.6, 1.7. This could be a major embarrassment to the Syrian army. No effect, no effect, no effect. It's like a bad day at Las Vegas. They routed one and they ran away. And they're at 5. Oh, not too bad, 1.7. So, it's stuff like that. Now that it's slightly compromised, I mean, we'll get plenty of reinforcements, but so there's our line of rockets. Look at them all. And we've really got to focus on defending them. Now, I don't know what we can do there. But we've got a spare irregular, so we can move one of these guys there. Maybe. See, I think what we're going to do sod it. Oh no, that was stupid. Just giving up that. That's why he was so tough. Got a nice line of defence though. And what can we bring forward? Do we want to bring these guys forward? I'm not going to bother with all this because it's already 33 minutes. So that's it. I mean, that's pretty much the way it stands. Obviously, we've got an interest in. Let's see what these guys can do. Got 3 of them. Like, let's try and blow this guy out. Because we get bigger. We're actually designed for fighting armoured vehicles, so we've done quite a bit of damage against that. 3.2. .6. Okay, let's see if we can push these guys forward. I won't bother with the other stuff. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm tired. I just want to get a video out, but I think this is really interesting in the sense that it's slightly different to the way the other ones are presented, just because I've gone a bit mad with the units. But it makes for an interesting situation, sort of puzzle-wise. there's a definite sort of border along there, and the damage that both sides are really doing to each other is by the indirect fire, the rockets and the artillery. Now, I don't think there's a huge argument to say that the Hayat Tahrir Sham did actually have this amount of indirect fire. I mean, they had rockets and they had artillery, but I think it's sort of more one or two items here and there, as opposed to the Syrian sort of, Grad rocket positions and the enormity of what they were capable of doing, or are capable of doing. But, in this situation, as it stands, you've got to sort of think, well, that's where it's coming from. That's what this is all about. There's not a lot of scope for sort of really punching through with units. I mean, you could maybe argue that you could maybe punch through here and start an outflank, and that outflank will force the Hayat Tahrir Sham units, en masse to sort of more move this way, and to sort of, try and bolster up that sort of line along there. I mean, they might have to do something like that. So that breakthrough would push them. But it's easy to say that, I mean, that's such a long way. You'd have to break through these units just because it's a gap. But it's a lot, it's a lot different to punching straight through this. Now, I think the other angle would be to sort of similarly go this way, and historically that's sort of more along what they did, and going this way would again force the Hayat Tahrir Sham units to sort of to push this way and to try and refuse that flank there. So, but the thing is, the bottom line is there is no scope for massive, strategic movement. It's because it's so dense. I mean, even here we could possibly get some units. In fact, we could probably do quite a lot, really. We could possibly, sit there and think, well, can we push that way? But we've got about 4 hexes. We could possibly get in our second turn, if we thought about this earlier, these units. Possibly this block of units can possibly move to somewhere like there. Possibly. I mean, out 1, 2, 3, 4. That's assuming that we can knock these units out of the way. Which would, if they were there, then they'd be able to sort of put a lot of pressure on this, and that would probably be the force that will push these units from their line like that, which you can't really see, their line like that, to a line like that, flowing this way, and then essentially pushing the entire mass of what they got there towards Khan Shaykhun. And that's probably what happened, because when you consider the dynamics, this sort of movement here, which is what they did, would push them this way, push all these units up that way to where they were, leaving a big block of there with the Syrians pushing this way. But I think that's sort of, maybe more along the lines of what happened or what you could do. But at the same time, you could sort of say, well, okay, if one side's thinking that, the other side can also think to stop that. All it would really take is to sort of push some of these units earlier on and push this line this way to fill out that flank. Be a little more, committed to that flank. I mean, some of these units haven't even moved. Anyway, interesting. I'll leave it at that, and speak to you later. Cheerio.